Welcome to Accidentally Slipping in the Shower. This is Ground Affected, and my name is Brent. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how my wife paints a model. Let's just remember, this person has never painted a model in their life. They've never even touched an airbrush. In fact, if she touched my airbrush, I'd probably... And so, today I decided I would show my wife how to paint a portrait on a model. This model's 1/6 scale. It's a Toby McGuire from 3D Wicked. The link for this model will be in the description below, so make sure to check that out. Actually, the link for 3D Wicked will be in the link below. Probably not the model, because I'm not going to be that specific. You can go and see what else they make and choose something from there. And as per usual, since we lose a load of people before we get to the end of the video, I'd like to ask you to click the like button, click the subscribe and ring the bell, because if I don't earn that by the end of the video, it's easy enough for you to take it away from me and follow the instructions I will leave you in the last few seconds of this video. And before we get on into the meat and potatoes, yes, I totally stole that from Trapped Under Plastic, which is an amazing podcast. You should probably check them out. Side note aside, make sure to check out my Patreon, where we talk about things, stuff, models, printing, the works, down below in the link in the description. This will give you nothing, but you will get access to my private Discord, and that's probably the best place to talk about these things and stuffs and printing. And now that I've shilled myself enough, let's get straight into the video. This is a slightly orange tone, and we'll start to bring the highlight. Okay, put the airbrush here. Take it out the thing so you can feel how it comes out. So if you tilt that thing funky, the paint's all gonna fall out. So you can't tilt it funky. It stays like that. Push down on the nozzle. Okay, that only blows air. And pull back.
When I'm pushing down?
Yeah.
You said pull back.
And the trigger goes backwards.
Oh, how?
So you want your finger to be straight on it like that. Yeah, can you see? Like, and then you can pull back. You're going to probably pull back quite far in most cases. Just a little bit will barely spray anything. You push down and pull back, but you want to push forward and then let go. The control is in the pulling back part. So pulling back will give, all the way back will spray all of it, and a little bit forward will spray a little bit, and all the way forward will spray none. Show it to the camera. You don't have to do it that way. Give it a spray and then pull all the way back. Do you see how it's making a big blob? If you go closer to it and then push down, but don't pull back as far. Do you see how it's a small little blob? Do the exact same thing, but come further away from it. And can you see that it's not as, it's bigger, but it's not as concentrated, right? So just paint in the circle. Good enough. It will drip a little bit. It will want to. Can you see it's very wet? That's just because you're putting too much paint, but that's okay. If you're finding it's putting too much paint, it's not better to push more air, or it's better to just pull away a little bit, because then more paint just opens up, meaning that there's less pixels going down onto the thing. So you hold this in this hand and you spin that around in that hand, and that airbrush, because that airbrush can't tilt or twist, so you can't, to get to the bottom here, turn the airbrush upside down. You're gonna only turn this hand.
It's getting so wet.
Yeah, that is a lot too much. Careful not to shake too much on that, but you can move it around, but don't shake. This is ink. No, it's not paint. Imagine the airbrush. Here's the end of the airbrush. Coming out of the airbrush is the spray. And it goes at this angle like that. As the air is spraying out, we want to make sure that that air hits only the top and the front portion of his face. So that air is going to hit this direction and this direction. So even when we're painting in the front here, we're not going to turn and paint like that, because that's wrong, right? If you do that, it'll get into the areas that you don't want it to get into.
Can I do a testy?
Yeah. So I think what I'm learning about beginners is that they're gonna dry their tip off. So if your paint's not coming out of your airbrush very well and it's a little bit splodgy, because the tip has been dried, the paint has been dried up on the tip. So you just need to open it up and then do that. So this time I would say hold it like this so that you get the angle, because you want it to brush over everything so that it lightens up the areas that are high up, but it keeps the dark paint on the bottom. Okay, now stop for a second and just evaluate. Can you see how you've got lighter and darker? Can you already see it's doing that? But now you want to make sure that it does it on that side too, but the same angle. You're literally only spraying the top of his head. Okay, whoa, that'll do. It's not any more than that. Any more than that and you're gonna have puddles, and then I have to...
I'll beat you.
You can't even beat eggs. Okay, that should be fine.
Oh.
Do you see there's paint coming out? And because
okay.
there's paint there, now when you spray, it does that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you never want to pull back on this without having air come out, because then it just builds up paint there. Then when you spray, it sprays splatters, and then you're going to have a bad time, and then there's tears. We want that angle to be somewhere about there, so that this paint is hitting like that, because then it will bounce up into those areas and it will leave the highest point but not the bottom and the lowest points. Yeah, let me dry that, and we're going to do that one more time on that side. Whatever's left in there on that end there.
Finish.
I can't believe you just shoved it in like that. In the center of it, going down towards his lip. Suck it up. I can't believe you just did that to a Kolinsky brush. You know, you're going just over the edge like that nicely, and then just over the bottom part as well, just a little bit. Like not too much, because you don't want it to pull up everywhere, and if it pulls up too much, you just dab it up again. And this you want it to go like nice and right up to the inside of that line around his eye. However you need to, you just need to make sure you angle the brush the right direction. All the way around, yeah, exactly like that. What we're going to do is add the whites to that, but we want to keep and retain some of the black on the edges.
So you want black outline,
so,
basically.
Yeah, so to make this easier than painting a black outline, which would be virtually impossible at that scale, right? So we paint the black first, and now we're going to come in and we're going to just do this and paint the inside of that black. In the center, but closer to the top of his eye. Not on the bottom of his eye. Don't let it touch the bottom lid. So, okay, so before you go any further, it's slightly too far to the one side. So the next dot needs to be on the inside slightly. Yeah. You don't have to paint it, you just poke it in there. Stop for a second, assess. So you need to go, it needs to go a little bit down and a little bit, let me see, a little bit more inner. Remember how we kept the edge of the black? Try to keep some of the edge of the blue.
On the tiniest fucking area.
Babe, I do that on a thing the size of my thumb. So like in the center, pretty much, but towards the bottom of it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be...
Why is it so big?
It is going to be big, but not so big.
Right in the center, above the blue.
In the center of the blue, closer to the top of it. Not too much on the top, but like as central as you can. Don't wipe it. Don't paint it. Just touch it.
Where am I touching?
In the top corner. Choose the top corner, like this top right hand corner.
Like on the right.
Yeah, a bit of off the white and a bit of on the white. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. And transfer that dot dead straight, babe. Dead straight.
I can't do it dead straight.
You gotta do it dead
Because
straight.
then I have nothing
use,
to control.
use something to control. Use something to balance. Put your hand around wherever you need to. That's fine. That can be quite loaded, as long as there's no color in the artwork.
It feels like there's so much.
Yeah, it will look like that, but it looks like his eyes are wet now. So just try to follow what you see there is the eyebrow, okay?
That one stops like there.
So try follow what you see on the sculpt, and if you need to adjust it, you can adjust it. They're slightly thicker when they come in the center, and they're thinner on the edge.
But he seems to have a unibrow, like they're right there and there.
They are quite in, because he's slightly frowning, right? That's why I say don't arch them too much. If you arch them too much, it won't match his expression. Okay, and then test the line on your thumb before you even do it. So you could do a thin line, you could do 20 thin lines till it's thick enough, or you could try do one thick line and be screwed. If you make a mistake now, instantly we need to take water and try to scrape it off. That's why I suggest to people to paint miniatures as practice, because when it's so small, you have no choice but you're forced to use good brush control. So, hopefully that encouraged you or inspired you in any way that you yourself can do exactly the same thing. It's not that difficult to paint. You don't have to paint to a top level standard to just produce things that are at least pleasing enough to your eye that you could probably put on your shelf and be proud that you did something. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. You just have to put paint in the right place. As you get better, you're able to put paint in even more of the right place. This is something that comes with time. And even though you've never seen it or done it in your life before, it's possible that you can learn to paint in a couple of sessions, just practicing a certain amount of techniques and watching videos on YouTube. There's many people that show many different amazing techniques and ways of painting, so make sure to spread yourself out and look all over YouTube. There's so much information out here, you might as well use it while you can. And having said all that, I'll remind you to click the like button, consider subscribing, have a look at the Patreon, and if you didn't like any of this, it's probably best for you to just f*** off. Holy heck, that was probably one of the more difficult things I've done so far. I'd rather paint on a car again.